Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. Yes, today is new machine day and I could not be more excited. This is a Kwik-Way multi-purpose machine is what its name is. I know it's used for regrinding the angles on valve seats, and I don't know everything about it. I'm actually hoping some of you guys can shed some light on what some of this crazy stuff even is over here.
Kinds of goodies.
I've known this was coming for about a week now, a little over a week now, and so I've been all over the internet and YouTube looking for videos on these. I couldn't find anything. I found a few valve grinders that basically had a wheel head and the valve chuck that's powered, similar to this, but nothing I could find online had like any of this stuff. This is all above and beyond, and I assume that's why they're calling it the multi-purpose machine. So in case you aren't familiar with what a valve is, they look about like this. Now this is out of a little wee tiny mini bike, and it won't actually fit in this machine. This machine's made for doing car valves. But basically this machine would regrind this angular sealing surface here to freshen it back up and get the cylinder sealing again. This is the chuck that holds and centers and drives the valve, so you would stick the valve in there. Now this is a kind of a different little chuck. It's got 3 balls at this end with a taper running on the outside of them, and it's got 3 balls way down at this end with an opposing taper, and they all come together at the same time, and so you've got 6 points of contact holding your workpiece true. The 3 balls at the front, the 3 balls at the back. So that's kind of interesting, but it doesn't go anywhere near small enough to grab this little baby valve, and also the balls are farther apart than the total length of this thing. So I just wanted to show you, in case you weren't aware, what a valve looked like. So basically you'd put the thing in there, you'd tighten this chuck down on it, you would rotate this, this whole piece comes off with 1 bolt. You'd need to get an angle, about like that. So you'd need more tilt, and this can come off to accommodate for that. And then this is powered by the motor, and as well the grinding head is powered by the motor. And so once you had your angle set, you could get that in there. Now this is a micrometer feed that would bring the wheel towards the valve for grinding. And then over here, there's a hand wheel that would run the wheel back and forth across the face of the grinding wheel, just to get everything nice and true and not be grinding in a groove or anything else. Near as I can tell, like from the motor actually has the most information on it. This is a 1929 motor, and I would not be the least bit surprised if this whole machine is from 1929 or right around there. And it came to us in incredibly good shape. There's a few things missing, and I don't even know what they're for. Also, there was a bunch of belts missing. This belt that goes from the main motor to the wheel head was missing, so I just took a piece of ratchet tie strap and stitched it up on my sewing machine, and that's working just fine now. I put some beeswax on there just to make it a little more grippy. This belt, this is kind of a neat belt because its drive pulley is underneath the machine way over at the other end, and this belt and all the pulleys that go along with it allow this thing to do all different angles and still be driven, as well as go farther and closer to the pulley that drives it, which is way under there at this end and is stationary. So that's super cool. This belt was missing off of this thing, and so this is actually, Tanya donated a skipping rope, and I stuck the ends of it together with Gorilla tape, and it seems it's not permanent. We're gonna get a real O-ring style round belt, but this is gonna let us demonstrate because it's working like a champ. Nothing but Gorilla tape. I think it's awesome. It doesn't currently have an on-off switch. It's a plug-in and it starts. So I'm gonna plug it in and I'll show you some of the functions I've discovered so far with this thing. This is some sort of transmission clutch type deal in here, which engages the grinding wheel. And now this is another clutch which engages this shaft. You can see right now this shaft is just sitting there still. So when I do this, that shaft is going to start to rotate. And now that shaft goes all the way through the machine, through a set of pulleys down here, into, I don't have a name for any of this stuff. It goes into this thing, which has a gear reducer in it. And then it goes inside of this, and there's a worm gear in there, which I'm going to talk more about later. But basically, I'm asking you guys for some help to try and figure out what exactly this thing does. I believe it has something to do with valves, and it wouldn't surprise me if it was for cleaning up the back end of a valve, if there was wear there. But exactly how it works, I don't know, and I'm pretty sure there's a belt missing from inside there too. Now another cool thing, if I throw this, so now when I engage this, the workpiece holder rotates under power as well. Maybe we can get a look underneath at all the stuff that's going on under there. Okay, it had to happen.
Blew the skipping rope.
Yeah, well, that was bound to happen. I'm going to get a proper one. I just wanted you guys to see it go so you can see what's left of it. Even then, the Gorilla Tape didn't even give up. It was like, anyways, that's fine. We got to see it run. I'll get a proper one on there, and then we'll get a valve in here and we'll start playing with it. But today is the introduction, and so at least we got to see it go. So guards, we're talking more and more about guards lately. This has wheel guard on it. Now it's going to protect the wall behind the bench. This machine is on just fine. It's not going to do an awful lot for you. It might keep things out of your eyes, I guess, but it's on there. No belt guards, none came with it. I'm going to do some research, hopefully, see if I can find out if it originally had guards or not. So there's no guards there. Here's another whole gear reduction belt setup down here. This belt's leather and in mint condition, I might add. And there's no guards on there. And I guess if there is in fact a belt that goes in here, like I think there is, that would be pretty well protected. So I just want to show you guys some of the super cool stuff this does. So right now, this goes back and forth along with this table by use of this hand crank over here. And what I can do is just pop this off, and now the table only runs this thing. So you can choose whether or not that's moving under power, whether you want it to or not. This whole thing comes off of here so that this can rotate fully. This is really neat. These two rods here, this rod is a table stop that stops the table in that direction, and this rod is a table stop that stops it in this direction. So basically, if I come to a place, set that bottom rod, come to a different place, set that top rod, I now have end stops. So that's super slick. This hand wheel moves the wheel head backwards and forwards. And it's just tight, it's just smooth. I mean, I'm just tickled. This thing is from back when people actually cared. I believe this is a wheel dresser. It seems to me you would clamp your diamond bit in here. You would use your table traverse to pass back and forth in front of the wheel, and that would make the wheel perfectly flat to the axis of your table travel. This little micrometer hand wheel here would give you your advance, and you could adjust this however you wanted to get it just where you wanted for the dressing you were doing.
It's too bad the belt broke before we got to show you this, but the belt came down through a hole around this pulley, around this spring-loaded tensioner, around this pulley, around this second pulley over here, and then up around this pulley and out through the top. So as I rotate this, You can see all that rigging is swinging around in there, and these would be self-aligning so that they're always pointing in the right direction. And as well as the rotation of this, that belt and those pulleys also have to handle this thing as it changes position lengthwise on the machine. So it's super cool. I have not figured this thing out yet. I mean, it is, the rotation of it is powered. There's a worm gear in there, so there's a huge gear reduction inside of here. There's actually a slight gear reduction right here as well. There is a spring-loaded idler pulley in there, and there's a bigger pulley attached to the shaft the worm gear is on. Near as I can figure, there was a belt that would go around that main pulley, around the tensioner, and up and around the outer face of both of these. And actually the dirty side of these would be the side where that belt was running. Now, I'm not sure if maybe you would put a valve in here, clamp it, sort of like that, and then have a pointer maybe in here that would support the valve lengthwise. And with all that gear reduction, that belt could drive your valve, could rotate it. A pointer here could maintain its position, and you could run it back and forth across the wheel like that in order to dress up the back edge of the valve if it had any wear on it. But that's just a guess. Well, what doesn't make sense to me is if you had the pulleys inside are only half as wide as this, and they line up with this side. So if a belt does indeed go all the way around these, which it appears to, it wouldn't do a decent job of supporting a valve, you know, for grinding at all. The back would be standing up on a belt, and this would be, this is free to rotate, so the one side of it would be all cocked off because it was on the belt. It would do a lousy job of making that thing run true. So I have to keep thinking about it. That's just kind of first guess. Don't know at this point. I'm hoping somebody out there can tell me exactly how that works and what it's for. And maybe someone's got access to the manual they could send in or something. That'd be super cool. And for all I know, this thing does other stuff that I just haven't figured out yet. So I can't wait to play with it more and see what all it's good for. So you might wonder what I'm doing with this thing, and that's a perfectly good question because it's a really weird, old, beautiful thing that not everybody wants to have. Good friends of mine learned that this thing was either had to find a good home or was going to the scrapyard, and they spoke up on my behalf, and a week and a half later, here it is. And so I'm just tickled. It's 95 years old, as far as I can tell, and it's absolutely mint. Just needs a couple of little accessories like belts and so on, and a little learning on my part, and then I'll be able to do, you know, whatever it is this thing's capable of. So ended up really wanting you guys to see what's going on with this belt because it's so cool. So we gorilla taped our skipping rope back together. That'll hold for a minute.
It will hold for a minute. Like it's already like, ah.
Yeah, no, it's fine. It's fine. And I wanted you to see the routing underneath of all the belts. So I'm going to stick a flashlight under here. So, all that belt has to drive this as this rotates. And I won't go too far because I think this belt is way too small. The skipping line is way too small. So, but also, the pulleys and everything have to compensate as this travels from end to end. So it's so cool. There's so much going on there. I'm going to take this mystery piece, I'll call it a mystery piece because I honestly don't know what it's all about, but this is super interesting. If I unclamp this piece, which is, oh, there we go, there's a little cam underneath here that actually rotates this thing from side to side. And you can just see it moving there.
ever so slightly. And that's really cool. So would you be putting a crown on the end of a valve? I don't know. I'm hoping some of you guys have ideas, but see, it's made to tip just ever so slightly.
This is made to come off really quickly. It's got one of those T-nuts that's like a quick acting T-nut. And just like that, with that one bolt undone, this whole thing comes off. So you can see what I was talking about here. There's this worm drive going into it. And then there's a slightly crowned pulley here. There's a spring-loaded idler on here. So it looks to me like a belt would go around here, around the back side of this, around here, and then back again. Exactly for what purpose, I don't know, but it really does appear to have had a belt on there. But for now, I'm going to take it off. I'm going to show you another feature I've noticed about this. So this thing I told you I thought was a wheel dresser, and I still believe that, but I think it might be multi-purpose as well, because it appears to me that this is capable of being centered to this. And I've loosened this off, and what you'll see is there's plenty of extra drive shaft here. So this whole thing can get quite close together and allow you to put things in here. Now I don't know if there's a, oh yeah, there is a taper in there. There's a taper. So you could probably get a live center or even a dead center for here and a dead center for here, put a drive dog on there, and you could very likely use this thing for grinding diameters. And also you could grind tapers because this end is movable. So that's super cool. It's just a whole nother potential use for this thing. So I'm going to tighten that back down. So again, you could pretty much use this like a little lathe to do your grinding. With a slightly bigger diameter wheel, you'd have more clearance. I suspect this also comes off pretty quick and easy. So if my workpiece was in there, I could advance my grinding wheel towards it. All these belts and idlers all doing their job, allowing this thing to move. And you're grinding. Super cool, super cool. I know you're hearing lots of clicking and clacking with these old fabric belts on here, or the one that came with the machine anyhow, but don't let that fool you. This thing is just as smooth and tight as the day it was made. Just runs like a dream. Earlier I mentioned that the mystery piece, I'm still calling it, could come off to allow this to do its full travel. And now you could imagine how it could grind that seat angle on a valve. To do that, you'd want to put this piece on, which connects this table to this table. So you have control over this back table. And with them locked together, now you could use that to pass your valve back and forth past your wheel. Well, that's about all I can tell you about this here on day one. I'm going to keep on attempting to do research, attempting to find a manual, both, you know, to teach operating procedures and even just to show, you know, how it all goes together. Might give me an idea what parts I'm missing. I honestly don't even know what that stuff may be. Could be something as simple as a work light missing from here. Could be a whole nother attachment or feature. So I'm going to keep looking at that. And if anybody out there has any information, I'd be super happy to hear from you, especially about this little mystery device here, because I'm just throwing guesses around at this point. So that's going to do it for today's video, guys. I hope you enjoyed, and we're going to be back in the future with this. And once we learn more about it, we'll be sharing that, and we'll be getting our hands on a valve so we can actually do some grinding with it. And I hope you enjoyed this show, and we'll see you in the next one.